Hello, hello, welcome everybody. How are you today? Matt Adams here with Local Optics. Welcome into our visibility series. I'm going to take a few moments here just to let people get on in to the Zoom. I hope you've had an absolutely wonderful day. I am very excited to share some awesome information with you and bring on Chase Mitchell, VP of A1 Garage. That's really exciting today. I want to give everybody just a moment here to get on in. If you can hear me and everything looks good and is good, please put a one in the chat if you can hear me. If everybody can hear me, just type a one in the chat. That would be really helpful for me. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. Fantastic. We'll give everybody just another moment here. I'll start with a little background on myself while we're waiting for people to file in. Again, my name is Matt Adams. Welcome today, everybody, to our visibility series here at Local Optics. My background, I have spent well over a decade in local marketing, very specifically local SEO, DTC marketing, ads, running a lot of ads. I was blessed to do a lot of really cool things over this career of mine. Very excited to share this information with you. I was one of the co-founders of Lynda, and now I am currently serving as the Director of Innovation and Transformation here at Local Optics, helping to drive the strategy of some of our products and all of the things that we do here and bring to the market. I'm very excited for today's call because I am going to be introducing Chase Mitchell from A1, and we're going to be able to have some awesome questions from Chase and hear some firsthand experience of not only our products, but our in-depth marketing and what we've done with them, as well as hear it from what they're doing in the market, right? To be different and to push harder. So I'll give it just another moment here, and I'm going to bring up my screen here, and then we will get rocking. All right. I just want to let everybody know a couple little quick housekeeping things as we get rolling here. A couple things. So we have the Q&A button. If you have questions, please put your questions. And at any time while we're rolling here, please put your questions in the Q&A. We will open some time at two separate times. We'll open some time for some Q&A questions where we'll answer those questions. They can be just about pretty much anything directed to local search, our products, Local Optics, Chase over at A1. Feel free to toss questions in there. So in the Q&A, please feel free to put them in there. Local Optics, we have an awesome newsletter every Friday, once a month on Friday. We'll be sending out a wonderful newsletter that's going to keep you up to date with what's going on. Google, local search, local marketing, really fantastic. We put a lot of power behind that, a lot of research. So make sure you check it out if you get the opportunity to. And then throughout this call and after this call, everybody will get a copy of this, and anybody that was signed up, please feel free to share it with friends and other owners of companies, as well as if you have any questions after, we can be reached directly at an email, sales@localoptics.com. Again, that's sales@localoptics.com. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get my screen shared here, and we can go ahead and get rocking, guys and gals. All right. Little snafu there. Give me just a second. All right. Let me know once this goes live. Let me know everybody can see it. Give me a little thumbs up. Be awesome. All right. Fantastic. Okay. Again, my name is Matt Adams. Welcome, everybody. I just want to give a couple minutes here to let everybody come on in. I am serving as the Transformation and Innovation Director here at Local Optics. I take a lot of pride in helping to guide our strategy, guide our products, guide what we're doing in the local marketing space, as well as with my background, well over a decade in very specifically in local search. I've seen the gambit of campaigns, from single location up to multi-hundred location campaigns for local search, SEO, the core technical background, website SEO. I've been there, I've done it, I've seen it. I really enjoy what I do, and I look forward to bringing you firsthand information and experience from myself, as well as today introducing Chase Mitchell, the VP of Marketing here at A1. Today's agenda, we're going to go over some really cool stuff. So, who is Local Optics, why we are here in the market, what we do, and what kind of power you can get from using us, as well as how we're innovating in the space and what you can expect from us the rest of this year. A little bit of a roadmap. I'll explain a few things there. Then, what everybody's here for today, I'm going to be introducing again Chase Mitchell, A1 Garage, VP of Marketing. We're going to be going through some great questions, and then we're going to get some opportunity to ask him questions, as well as then next we'll be doing a bit of industry trends. We'll talk about kind of what's changing in Google local SEO, what things are important, to be watching and keeping track of. We'll round out with some share of local voice. What does that mean for your local market? And then we'll put in live Q&A at the end. So throughout this whole time, if you have questions, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your, should be at the bottom of your screen. Some of you might be at the top of your screen. You feel free at any time to drop those Q&As into the Q&A section, and we will answer them right here live on this call. Very exciting, guys. So who are we here at Local Optics? We are pioneers in the local digital marketing space. We're bringing together well over 2 decades of local SEO experience from our CTO and founder, Nate Fisher, one of the original tool developers of local grids in the entire local SEO market space, right? Prior to grids, it was a very singular one line. You either knew you ranked number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but you did not know how far out from your location did you actually show up. And with the tooling at hand, as well as working on some of the largest campaigns across the country, handling campaigns that range from one location up to 100, multiple 100 locations. Why we exist here at Local Optics, we saw the need where service-based industry, home service providers had all of this beautiful content that they were doing, and they never saw the light of day, and they would never use that for their online presence or their profile building and their authority building. And we saw a clear opportunity to put this awesome tooling, job site check-ins in their hands, as well as give you insights into what's going on in the local space, be able to track and find out how you're competing against your competitors, be able to bring more consistent lead flow from Google, cut through the noise, visibility into what's driving results versus what's not driving those results, and really just create a roadmap that later this year we have some incredible tooling coming out, including our MLAP, M-L-A-P, that's MLAP, multi-location analytics platform. That's going to be absolutely awesome. I'll take a few minutes at the end here, show you some of our newer products, as well as talk about some of the roadmap here. So really, we are a powerhouse in the local digital marketing space. Our CRMs are absolutely awesome. They're tooled up with a lot of tooling where you can ask a lot of questions, as well as having digital guides for your business that can help you go to the next level, expand locations, dig deeper into markets, find out where you're winning versus where you're not, and have a much robust strategy for your local marketing at your company. And without further ado, next up, I would like to introduce Mr. Chase Mitchell, the VP of Marketing at A1. Give me a moment to get my screen unshared here.
How's it going, Matt?
It is going awesome, brother. Great to see you.
Happy to be here. Appreciate the invite. Looking forward to the conversation.
It's very appreciated that you took the time to do this. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you over the last almost 2 years now, I think, right?
Yep.
That we've been digging in deep here with a lot of different things. And I'm really excited to hear your firsthand experience, as well as that knowledge that you have, man, across so many locations, such a powerhouse in building here. I'm really excited for today. And I just want to thank you again for taking the time to do this with us, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. I would love if you could start, maybe we could briefly just kind of walk through, for A1, what is your role and what do you do there at A1?
Yeah. So A1 Garage, we are a residential repair and replace service, right? So we do anything from garage door repair to service to new install on new doors. We operate across, about 20 to 21 states. I lose track. I mean, we're growing, we're acquiring companies all the time. And we operate, across 4 different brands. Specifically me, as VP of marketing. I've been here for 4 years now. It was really part of the organization as we started more recent rapid growth, and I oversee all the performance marketing side of the house.
That's absolutely fantastic and such a wide array of amount of data that you get to look into,
Oh
right? Like
yeah.
that's a fun thing to do and
Yep.
just be able to see what happens. Tell me a little bit about your approach to marketing from that performance side. And, I think everybody would love to hear a little bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, for in garage doors, right? Most of the calls that we get in are demand based, right? It's you wake up to leave to work, you're stuck in your door, you can't get out, and you're calling us, right? So our approach is really just be top position where folks are searching, which we're going to get into how search has drastically changed over the last 12 to 18 months.
You're
But
not kidding.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We both know. I mean, I exhaust Matt all the time with just digging into. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, with the rise in LLM, if somebody says that they've solved it, they're lying. No, nobody's solved it yet, but we put our heads together and we find a strategy and we run with it and we test. Um, but like I said, our biggest focus is making sure that we own those top positions when people are searching. And then on top of that is then how do we generate demand, right? Because overall demand fluctuates. And so how do we maintain that volume? Part of that is then generating demand, preventative maintenance, replacing your garage door. It's something that people kind of want, but not a lot of times a need, right? And so um, yeah, so most of our focus is being top position. I mean, that's huge. We've got to be top position when people are searching, and then we have a big push in top of the funnel brand awareness. So that when that those issues do occur, you think of A1.
That's fantastic. And so, we have spent a lot of time watching over this last 12 months, the quite the large change and staying top of mind, right? Being at the top of search has been essential, right? And one of the most important factors. And before we get into the results, like what would you talked about? Like how was it feeling day to day before you made the change to switching to working with local optics with us?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, like we track everything. We have separate tracking numbers that are broken out by our individual markets, our individual campaigns, our individual placements. And so, as we've grown and scaled, being able to aggregate that data in a meaningful way to be able to, really easily drill down to the individual location level, has been crucial because, before we partnered with local optics, I mean, we had the data at that granular
All there.
level, right? But we didn't have that data all aggregated into one place. We had a tool that was tracking our map listings. Then we had a tool that was aggregating, how many phone calls are we generating. Then you have, Google's native tools that's tracking profile engagement. Um, and before we partnered with you guys, I mean, really, we were looking at like the market level, like how is the market as a whole performing? That's made up of, depending on the market, could be 3 to 15 different GBPs or locations. And so, we identify that the kind of the next, to optimize that even further, we had to get better visibility into each of the individual locations, how they're performing, not just, GBP as a whole for that given market, but how is location A actually performing compared to location B? So that's really been the biggest difference of, before working with you guys and now is just being able to really get insight and additional strategy into how each individual location is performing.
And so for everyone listening there, I think it's really important to notate, and I'm going to say you're going to agree with this, but it's essential to track as much as you possibly can. Would you agree with that
Absolutely.
statement?
Absolutely. I mean, you don't know what's working and what's not working unless you're tracking at that granular level. Now you can get in trouble and go too granular, right? In fact, we've even had to kind of go up a level. I like using Valpak as an example, right? And in a market, we run Valpak ads, and Valpak, like a market's broken out into different zones, which is clusters of 10,000 houses. I mean, we used to go as far as like a different tracking number for each zone. We want to know exactly like each, but it just gets too much, right?
Yep.
And so you can definitely go, you can go a little too granular, and then you paralysis by analysis. You have too much data that you're looking at. But at the end of the day, I mean, more granular is better than not. I mean, because you have to know how each individual buy or each individual channel is performing. Now, you do have to right size the expectations, right? Like I don't expect, my Valpak ad, or let's use another example, like a newspaper print ad that's, maybe a little more top of funnel. I shouldn't expect that my ROI on that placement is going to be the same as GBP or paid search, right?
Right.
So you have
We
to have
know
the
they
right,
need it right now.
right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think it is one of the most important takeaways. Like start tracking as early as you
Yep.
can. If it has to be a spreadsheet, it has to be a spreadsheet, but we got to track,
Exactly.
right? You got to
Exactly.
be tracking, especially when you're spending marketing dollars, whatever you're spending marketing dollars on. That's awesome, man. Great takeaway for everybody out there listening. What was frustrating the most about your marketing visibility overall? What was working? What wasn't working?
Yeah, going back to is the frustration was just the, kind of the suite of different tools that we had to measure everything, right? I mean, we could dig into, you know, map ranking performance, but then if we don't have easily accessible, then how that's translating to phone calls, then how those phone calls are converting, and then what's the average ticket on those converting phone calls. That was the most frustrating part. Now, I mean, part of that was a factor of just our size and scale, right?
Mhm.
Now, if we were a 1, 2 market shop, that might work, right? Right. You can have those multiple tools and kind of make those decisions and kind of aggregate the data manually. But we were beyond that. We were still operating out of spreadsheets, to a degree, right? So that was the most frustrating part is just our speed, like our speed to react to the data. It was just too slow, for what we demanded and what we needed.
And I think that's one of the most important pieces right there, guys, that, over the last year and a half of working together, almost 2 years now, right? It actually let us know operationally which locations needed more push, needed
Right.
more attention versus kind of not knowing and having to guess and throw things at the wall to see what might stick, right? As well as pushing into which ones are going to do better and which are not. Which one is there actually opportunity and is there pitfalls at some of those locations, right? That's awesome, man. What changed after you first kind of started partnering up with us?
Not only just the aggregation of the data, and being able to react quicker and get those insights quicker, but then just the partnership and the strategy, that you guys come from, years of collective experience in the space.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, and it's our approach is many minds, right? Because not one person or one shop, kind of has everything figured out, and so it's gathering all those different perspectives along with what we're seeing in our first party data. But I mean, the strategy and the direction that's come from, this partnership with you guys has been crucial. I mean, it's helped us accelerate our decisions. It's given a different a different perspective to how to approach, especially in the last 18 months as search has just been flipped on its head and just a complete changed environment and still learning. So having that additional firepower with, coming from you guys, has really helped us keep up with kind of the change in overall search behavior.
That's awesome. And then I would say, you guys were producing so much content and nothing was seeing the light of the day, right? All that beautiful content getting turned
Right.
into the job site check-ins, right? How do you think that affected some of the way and changed the way customers see the business?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, like the strategy of keeping those GBP profiles refreshed through those posts, right? I mean, at our scale across 100 plus locations, having somebody kind of manually write job descriptions and collect all these photo assets, right? Would just be not it would be a tougher business decision to right to hire heads to do that work. Whereas with local optics, I mean the product pretty much runs itself now, right? It's a little bit of code on the website, you know, granting access to the GBPs, granting access to our CRM, Service Titan, and it pulls on a daily basis actual jobs, photos of actual jobs, writes an AI description of the job, and puts it on the website, on the map. And there's a couple signals that's been really valuable for customers, right? When they land on our local pages, they can see the hundreds of jobs that we've ran in their area, their neighbors, right? And it adds that bit of credibility. So not only does it add the credibility to the customer, like, oh yeah, I mean these guys are in my neighborhood, right? We say it in our messaging, right? To actually physically see,
Show
jobs we've
that, right?
ran to show
Yeah.
that, right? And then on the other side, then it's a huge positive signal for Google, right? It's just a huge positive authority link that like what we talk about on our website, we're hearing the same things from our customers and we're getting that feedback from our customers and we're doing that work. So I mean it's been huge.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. It's absolutely fantastic. And so, can you talk to me a little bit about the level of support and the strategy that's gone into compared to maybe prior to partnering up?
Yeah,
Just
and
a little note there.
prior to partnering with you guys, we've had strong partners that we've actually maintained. Kind of back to my other point about, how we want kind of many minds, in the work. There was a little bit of, as we brought you guys on and maintained our existing partnerships, we definitely had to kind of work through, specific roles and responsibilities, who's owning what. And the biggest value, which Matt, you probably remember when we made the decision to bring all those heads together, right? And that's something I came from an agency background. I've worked with brands where they have another agency doing this and another agency doing that, and we relied on the client to kind of be that middleman or the person that's relaying information. And I've always identified that as just a huge stuck
It'll be a
because
pitfall.
absolutely. And so getting all those minds together and everybody working together, rowing in the same direction, has been a game changer. And just the expertise that you guys have brought to the brought to the plate has been crucial, especially on selecting our locations. I mean, we've always known that GBPs have been a winning strategy. It's that bottom of the funnel. I need repair work now, whether I'm going to Google search or searching on maps, right? We know that the ROI has always been there, right?
Mhm.
The cost for one of these locations, is offset by two jobs, that we successfully run. Um, but I mean, so we've known that we've always known that that's worked, and we hadn't put as much strategy and thought into like selecting those locations. We relied a lot on operations, which they've given us great signals of like, hey, we should be in this area, we should be in this area. But to bring you guys on to be looking at other demographic data, other search history data to say, yeah, like this is a good location, but if we were over here in this geo or this area, like those are our customers. Like those are the customers we want. So that's probably been the biggest uptick in our overall performance from really targeting the customers that we want. And yeah, that's been critical.
Yeah, working with you over the last 2 years on that has been awesome. And I think it's really important to notate right at this juncture with those statements that search has been changing at a drastic rate, and it's now more important than ever to choose the right location, to know that you're planting that flag somewhere, especially when you're betting operation dollars, marketing dollars, expansion opportunity and dollars on it. It's vitally important to know having data to go into that market, know if it's a good location or not, and if the proximity will work, because
Yeah.
some of them just plain won't work, right? We
Yep.
know that. And we've seen that. We've seen that in the data that we've gone through together, right?
Yep. And on top of that, we had a ton of locations that were being filtered out by possum. And I mean local optics and Matt, you guys were the first ones to identify that. We had
Mhm.
locations that were just not, they just weren't ranking. They just weren't getting off the ground. And just I mean that feedback alone, has definitely helped. And like you said, with the change in search, the inventory is less. Less people are going to Google. And so it's become even more important to make sure that we are, like you said, in the right areas, and capturing visibility in the customers that we want, that are going to convert, and drive high tickets for us.
Yep. And so having this real data across all these locations as well as bubbled up in a manageable format, how has that helped our decision making here? How has that helped your decision making?
Speed's been the biggest thing, is just having that data already aggregated. I mean, we could react a lot quicker, right? We know quicker if a location is performing to what our expectations are, and it's helped us realize what those expectations should be, right? To be able to bucket locations like, hey, this is a cohort of new locations. These are a cohort of locations that we've now been operating for 6 to 12 months, and just to have that performance visibility of those kind of 6 to 12 month locations. That's helped us set benchmarks, right? So now we have
Mhm.
these new locations where we're measuring against those benchmarks for those locations that are 6 to 12 months, and then we could just faster see where performance is and be able to put more emphasis, add more budget, to the locations that are underperforming against that benchmark. And so it's helped us establish a benchmark and then get, I mean, essentially real time feedback on the performance on those against the benchmarks.
Fantastic. And since we're talking about locations right now, like adding locations, I think it's really important. I'd like to bring this up and I'd love your opinion here, but reviews, right? Review collection. It's the utmost important, especially if you're looking to add a location. You need to be thinking about what does your review collection process look like and how many reviews are you collecting? Because we're just like we are living in a landscape that is more competitive than it was last year, but more competitive than it was 5 years ago by maybe 100x, right? And you need to be looking at the benchmark of where do you get competitive and how many, sorry, where do you get competitive at what review number, right? Like who are the top people in that market and how many reviews do we need to get to before we're even starting to compete? And you need to be putting that into your operational thought process of expansion locations and moving that flag down the field. Any comments there on the review collection process?
Yeah. I mean, we've always prided ourselves in a high review rate. I mean, that's from day one. I mean, that has been a big part of our training to our technicians, as they approach the house, or as they, first time they address the customer, they're starting from the very beginning. Like, hey, my goal is to deliver a 5-star service, right? So they make the ask at the end. And I mean, we've always been able to generate reviews, um, but the but going back to having that visibility into each of those individual locations, and the not only just the number of reviews and the average star rating, like that's pretty easy to measure, right, across all your locations, but the velocity of the reviews, right? You know, we've had locations that have gone months without a review, and it's just a factor of proximity, right? Maybe we weren't running as much jobs in that area, or we were pushing reviews to this other location, and just because we have so many locations, maybe we forgot that we were pushing reviews just to that single location, which is great. We were building up that location, but then you have this other GBP that's been starved of review volume, and before we know it, rankings have crashed, and we're like, what the heck, right? And so having that visibility into review frequency too, right? I mean, every other week we got Matt say, hey, these 5 locations, we're running low on velocity, or we haven't had a review in X number of days or weeks. And so getting that signal, to then push more, like we know we can generate them. We just need that visibility and that insight to kind of help guide us into which locations we need to feed to keep all locations getting a good healthy velocity of reviews.
Yep. And, just reminding like everybody out there listening in right now, reminding your teams review collection is the one of the most important things to focus on. And I
Probably
always
the
like to tell
most.
people, just remember to add it back to your morning meetings, right? I can't tell you, I've had a few conversations with some very large company owners and service provider company owners, and I said, wow, I haven't had a review meeting specific in the last 6 months. Let me get back on that. So, just a quick note for everybody out there. That's awesome. If you had to do it all over again, Chase, what would you do sooner? Just in general in marketing and for A1?
All right, partner with these guys sooner. No. um, that's a tough question because not to toot our horn and really this is credit to our CEO Tommy Mello. I mean he got it. SEO it's that counterbalance to I mean generating a lead from paid media is expensive and
Mhm.
we buy it all. We buy all types of media. We track everything. So I know my cost per acquisition, you know, by each media source, and it's getting more expensive. It's getting more competitive. And so having that SEO volume, whether it's from your website on the SEO side or local SEO through the GBP, I mean, those are virtually free leads. Yeah, you have some costs associated with it to, lease locations or to manage the SEO strategy and website. But that's a counterbalance that we need to be able to invest those dollars into paid media. And so, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say this is more of a general statement. Like if you're to do it all over again, and it's not too late. Now's the time to start SEO, to start building that presence online, building the presence on GBPs, expand to more GBPs because it takes time. Like one ranking signal for GBPs is time and history, right? You can't cheat time and history. And so the best time to open your second location was yesterday, right? And so, and I would even say that I've been in the SEO space forever, and when I came on board, because we already had a pretty decent program put in place, I didn't have to worry about SEO too much, but I mean, shame on me, right? If you just kind of let it go and set and forget, you get in trouble. And we did get in trouble for a period of time where it was neglected a little bit because it was working, but the strategy changes, search changes. And so it should always be a focus. So yeah, if I was to go back, I wouldn't have gotten comfortable, on the SEO side.
We got to get those comms down, baby. Get those comms down.
Yeah, yeah. It's been rough. It's getting expensive out there.
Oh man. Tell me one thing you've learned over your career here at A1 that service businesses are missing regarding marketing. Maybe give me one on marketing and one on local SEO.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna repeat. It's the organic side. It's a tough pill to swallow, right? Because and it's tough to find the right partner too, because you're gonna talk to a dozen people that are all gonna claim to know what they're doing. For a lot of business owners, SEO goes over their head, right? And so it's hard to kind of weed out, who really knows what they're doing. But even then, I mean, invest in it. You'll learn. You'll learn if that's the right partner, but you got to give it enough time. And going back to what I was saying, why it's a tough pill to swallow, depending on the size of your business, but even if you're a single location, you're looking at a $5,000 to $10,000 a month retainer for SEO that doesn't generate anything right away. It may not generate anything for 3 months, right? It's really that 6 month mark, where you actually start to see that volume come in. And that's when business owners stick with it and stick with the process. It's about at that 6 month mark where they go, oh yeah, this is huge. This is valuable, right? Because then that engine just keeps feeding. That volume starts coming in at such a low cost. Um, and so starting now and start with somebody, give them 6 months, and at the 6 month mark, if there's not a material amount of volume coming in, right, then really start asking the questions and asking yourself, like, is this the right partner? Go shop it out. Go have other agency partners, kind of audit, and they'll give their perspective. But the biggest piece of advice I can get is start now. it's going to feel like a plunge. Take that plunge, start SEO. Because like I said, you can't cheat time, you can't buy time. And that's what, whether it's SEO or local SEO, that's a big factor of it is just history and time.
Yep. I agree. It is history and time. And then I'll add one layer to that is again review collection. So
Yep.
review collection isn't everything, but getting those reviews to be competitive in the market. I've seen where people have their grids and they're number 3, 4 all through the whole grid, and they bump in and out of that third position in maps because they
Mhm.
don't have enough reviews. And what happens is, I explain it this way. What happens is Google puts you in number 3 and starts to test you, right? They're testing your business now. Are you answering that search for what somebody's looking for? And then if you have the lowest amount of reviews, you're not getting selected. So now, because you didn't get selected out of the 3, you get popped back out. And they're going to test another business there. Because what does Google want to do at the core? Well, they want to take our money for ads, but they also want to suffice that search, right? They want to answer that search, and they want to know that who they showed is giving an answer to that searcher. That's Google's core
Yeah.
thing that they want, right?
Yeah, there's not a single meeting that we have with our technicians that we don't mention the or emphasize reviews. And it's, you
Love that.
can't you can't
Love that.
always solve it with just technology, right? I mean, that would help, right?
Well, we did
Let's move.
technology, remember? We looked for some technology and it didn't improve. Full transparency, right?
Right.
We added a little more technology to some review and it didn't see a big boon. It is humans. It's your humans that are out there operationally. Love that,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chase.
If you're not asking, right, whether it's through, a follow-up SMS or email after the job, right? Start there. But even then, right, you may get a little bump in reviews, but the technicians have to be setting it up, right? They have to let the customer know that, that hey, if you don't mind, we'd love to invite you to tell us how we did, right? And that whole setup has been the key into our Google review rate. And we even have it, to where the technicians can, and we encourage them. That's where we get the highest response rate, is when the technician is the one pushing the button on their iPad and sending the review request text message to the customer. Like that's what we want. If every job went that way, I mean, we would double the amount of Google reviews. But it starts with the technicians, right?
Yep.
Start with the
That human
technicians,
operations.
train the technicians, and then you can add technology to the back end to even get additional points, in your review rate, right?
Yep. Okay, we got a couple Q and A's. I got one other question myself for you, and then got a
Okay.
couple other Q and A's. We'll pop into that here for a moment. On the topic of reviews, a question from the audience. Jason asks, on the topic of reviews, do you use review gating?
We don't. I have in the past, and I would ask yourself, like, if you're thinking about review gating or worried about review gating, like what are you worried about? You're worried about the angry customer leaving a 1-star review. First of all, just deliver a 5-star service. I know that's easier said than done, but we don't gate reviews. Like I joke. I mean, I now know how I could do this, but before I joked about it. Like, if a technician called me and said, "Hey, I just left this job and I pissed off the customer. Do not send them a review request link." I used to not even know how to prevent it from happening, because we send every customer a review link, because I feel confident in that, because we truly do deliver a on average 4.8 star service, and we send that review link to everybody. Gating can be dangerous. If
Yep.
you can get in trouble for that. I mean, it is not, it's frowned upon, right? You can actually get dinged by Google. Um, and so, I mean, so to answer your question, no, we don't gate reviews, because I'm confident in that service. I would rather the velocity or the number of reviews than mitigating those 1-star reviews.
Yep. I love what you said. Again, your operations, your humans, right? That's big. And I also would just add to the layer that, look, a 1-star review hurts at any point. in our
For sure.
careers and in our business. Whether we have 10,000 reviews or 100, it hurts a little more when we only have 100. But what I will say is it can happen, and it's real, and it's natural. And Google also knows that it's real and natural. So these guys that try to keep a coveted just 5-star rate, like, Google's wondering, hey, is this real? Are we
Right.
actually,
And,
is
and
this
from a
real?
customer perspective, right? Like when I see a business that's 5.0, it's almost questionable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
What are they doing behind the scenes?
Yeah. In fact, I mean, we partnered with a business. It was Garage Door Doctor in Houston, and I mean they had thousands of reviews, 5.0. And I remember the first time I met the seller the previous owner. And I was like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, are you gating reviews? Like, he's like, no, we're not. He's like, those are all legit. I didn't believe him at first until I got to know them and learn their process. Any 1-star review they got, I mean, they didn't stop calling that customer until they got a hold of that customer, and they did whatever it took to make
Bring
it
them flowers, right?
100%, even if it meant refunding the entire job, because
Yep.
they realized he realized how much 1-star reviews do hurt, and he went the extra mile to make it right.
Yep. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Yeah, another question. Did you ever see an issue of your GBP or GBP, but the recognitions isn't there?
The
Um,
recognitions wasn't there.
and we might need to expand on that. How long does it take to realize your GBP? And I think he means like Google recognize it and start giving it some
Mm,
authority is what
yeah,
I get from that question.
yeah. I mean that our approach, like when we establish a new GBP, it is a race to get to 100 reviews. And I would say,
Yeah.
we run a lot of jobs, and we have a high review, conversion rate. So I would say 50 reviews. It's a race to get to 50 reviews. That is our biggest push when we establish a new location. And that's typically once we get to that 50 review mark, and then you can't stop, right? Then it's velocity. Then you're getting, a regular trickle of reviews. That's usually when we start to see that location ranking.
It's awesome. Another one here. Back to the SEO, local SEO side. What is the biggest lever to pull for the website? Blogs, tons of service pages, authority pages.
Yeah, I would. So now, kind of with where the whole landscape of search is now, our focus has been more on blog content, kind of relevant content to different AI prompts and volume of content. Right. At the end of the day, I mean, you want specific content on your website that is specifically about everything that people are searching. Right. Um, you know, you don't want a page that lists every single topic, right? Because yeah, I mean that could be a valuable page, but it may be talking about, the average cost to replace a garage door or spring, but it's also might be talking about, different types of insulated garage doors, which is still good content. But when Google's looking at the thousands, millions of index pages of content they have, like what content are they going to serve the customer? They're going to serve the customer or the person searching like the most relevant piece of content to what they're searching, right? And so if customer is searching, what's the average cost to replace a garage door spring? I want a piece of content specifically about what's the average cost to replace a garage door spring. So I would like make sure you do have your service level pages, there, right? Because those are going to be your pages that convert. But then all of your other kind of blog articles, are going to help support those service level pages to rank, right? Because you're talking about then like the long tail keywords, right? That's more research focused where you're like, I mean, yeah, the traffic's great, but they're not going to convert. They're just asking, like, what's the difference? What's the difference in the different, R values of insulated garage doors, right? Like they're in the research phase, but if I have content and I'm getting visibility about, with those searches, all that traffic and visibility helps boost all those pages. And so they can help the service level pages rank.
That's key to explain that part there, because that research phase, if you're getting traffic from that research phase, it might not convert today. It might convert later, but it might never convert. And
It
that's
might never
okay.
convert.
but that traffic assists your other pages, your
Right.
location pages, your service pages. It helps those. It helps your overall authority because, again, back to what I said about the 3 pack, you're sufficing that search, right? Google sees
Exactly.
that click through rate to you and it's like, oh, this is great. They're sufficing the search of the searcher. We love this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And back
awesome.
to Matt's point, right? Google wants to make the most money through ad dollars, right? And so they want the most traffic on Google. And so they're measuring the user experience, right? And
For
they
sure.
want to make
All
sure
the
it's a
time.
positive user experience, even though, like you said, that traffic may never convert, but the fact that you ranked, got to click through, and the searcher consume that content, that's a positive signal that'll help all the rest of the pages, the converting pages, rank higher.
Okay. Got a couple more here, and we'll go through a couple more if you're good with a couple more
Yeah,
questions,
yeah,
Chase. Yeah,
absolutely.
beautiful. So what SEO? What is the biggest lever to? I'm sorry, that was not the one. SEO. Which is the highest ROI? SEO or local SEO, and how much of my budget should go in there?
Hmm. That's a good question. I mean, I would say local SEO. And it also depends on the business, obviously. I mean, it's sorry, I'm assuming the audience is mostly home service businesses,
Yes.
if not all. Okay. Yeah. I mean, for home service businesses, I would say the biggest priority is local SEO. Right. That's a typical user experience, right? I'm gonna go to the maps, I'm gonna find the location nearest to me, right? That more upper funnel type traffic, the research, the person that's in the research phase, right? I mean, they're going to be hitting your website, but they're not the ones converting right now, right? So as far as like ROI, like what traffic is going to convert, it's definitely the local SEO side. But you can't invest in one and not the other, right? That's kind of that's the real answer to that question.
They're together. They
You
got to be
gotta be
together
investing in
these
both.
days, especially in the competitive landscape that we're in. So,
Yep.
um, I'll add a piece of color on the budget. Like, I don't think we can ever say a budget without more context. But what I will say is, your budget should be healthy. A lot of people think that a $299 budget is going to get them winning in Dallas. And I still see that some days. I'll say it. I've seen it. I've been doing this quite a long time. Maybe not as much these days anymore, but you know, you need a healthy budget. That is for sure. So, okay, another one, really great one. Absolutely love this one, especially because of how much we've done on it. So you're about to love this one. But when you're opening a new location, is it okay to be close to your competitors when opening up that new location? We've found a location that's ideal, but there's 2 or 3 other locate electrical companies nearby in the same complex. So what would you say there, Chase?
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, now unless that area is like, no, those are my customers. I need to be in somewhat close proximity to my competitor. And it could be a factor too of like that's the only bit of commercial real estate available, right? That's one thing. But generally speaking, right, stay away from competitors for a couple reasons. One, like I said before, being filtered by possum, which Matt remind me, what is it? If you're like within 1,000 feet, right?
2000. It's 2000 feet. If there's another category, same category of GBP as the main cat, you're somebody's going to get filtered.
Yep. And that filter is like, I mean, you're not ranking at all. Right.
Zero,
Yep.
almost zero.
And so if you do have to, open a location that's relatively close to a competitor, right? For sure, make sure it's less than or more than 2,000 feet away. But then the other side of that, right? You also don't want to ruffle any feathers, right? And so I mean, listen, we open locations all the time that are within a quarter mile of competitors. Now, one, we come in a little more confident. We know we can generate the reviews. We're not scared to open a location next to a strong competitive GBP. Because we just have confidence in our ability to generate the reviews and get that location ranking well. Um, but if you can avoid it, it's not the end of the world if you have to, but if you can avoid it, I would avoid it.
Yep. That's awesome. And so like we talked about a little earlier, on the location choosing, you and I have worked in depth on that heavily together across this year. And I believe we've helped a lot on that process. And when you can, if there is other opportunities out there, choose the other opportunity. You also need to look at proximity to the city that you're going to be in because, we see people a lot of times that are asking, why are we not ranking? And we find out that while the city is here, and they are that city, but technically they're 5 miles outside of the actual loop of the city because it's still the city technically, but now your proximity is so bad to all the people searching, right? So it's really two things, guys. It's possum filter. Is there another category of the same GBP directly on top of you within 2,000 feet? That's first. Second is proximity. Proximity to those people searching. You got a great address, but it's just outside the outskirts of the city, but it's still the city. I'd be looking for a different address, guys. I would definitely be continuing my search.
And one little trick you could do too is search the city name in Google, and to force the map to actually
That.
draw the border, right?
Yep.
Because you may have a location like, okay, let's say I want to be in Atlanta, right? And my address on this, this property I'm looking at may say Atlanta, but it could be outside of what Google considers Atlanta. So
Correct.
that's kind of a good
Great tip,
gauge.
Chase. Bro, perfect, man.
Yeah,
That
so
was
that's why he
absolutely
brought me
perfect.
on. Just this, hopefully there's a couple nuggets out there.
Maybe a one or two,
Yeah.
All right, last one, and then we'll keep moving. So, do you believe that Google Ads has a nice sweet spot, or do you really just see it as like pay to play type deal? Whoever pays the most is going to win. What do you think there? Give me some perspective on Google Ads,
Mm,
and I would say maybe we delineate a little bit LSA versus traditional. I'll add a little
yeah.
more color there.
Yeah. Just a little color on that. I mean, LSA, you know, is a way better spot than ads as far as ROI. And I mean it's at the top, it's position zero, right? It's literally the first thing, that a customer sees when they make the search. But then as far as ads go, like search ads, I mean it's kind of a necessary evil, right? If you want to be in those top spots for those low funnel terms, like in our case, garage door repair me, um, it's just one of those spots that you want to be. But I get it. It's expensive, but if you're tracking each of those spots individually and you're actually measuring the return on ad spend, I mean it pencils out. It pencils out and it's a positive return. Now it's not as good of a return as LSA. But then, when we look at it blended, but that's where the volume is, right? I mean, that's where most of our volume comes from is from those spots. Like, it's me personally, do I click on ads? No, because I know you know, I know the strategy that goes into those placements, but that's not a majority of traffic. Like the volume does come through there. Yeah, you're going to pay for, your branded terms that could have hit organic and not cost you anything. But for us, our competitors are betting on our branded terms, and we just want to own the top real estate, especially on branded terms. So it's a necessary evil. But as long as you're tracking each of those individual placements separate and measuring that ROI, um, you know, you, if you're not getting the return that you need, I would if you're running the campaigns yourself, I would look to getting some support. If you do have support, whether it's a consultant or agency work, and and you are tracking it individually and the results aren't there, I'd look for somebody else because it works. You should make sure you have the right strategy and the right partner.
Yep. That's fantastic. Last one we'll take for now. Any more color we can add to like what is a healthy budget for a local SEO campaign, SEO overall? And maybe we can do that. And then like what should we allocate percent of marketing budget to? Any color you can give there.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try to like back the napkin math, like kind of what we're spending on. I mean that really is a tough question,
Yeah.
without context on the size of business and the overall budget. Um, I mean, I would argue that any amount of budget is going to have a positive ROI. at about the 6 month mark. Um, so I would argue just, you know, if we're working with an agency or shopping out an agency, you know, have them recommend some different budget tiers, some different packages, and truly understand like what you're getting, what type of deliverables or what work, what strategy you're getting with those budgets. And then really you just gotta pick a budget and start, give it 6 months. I would bet every dollar in my wallet that you'll end up wanting to invest more, at the 6 to 8, 12 month mark when you actually start see it performing. So I wish I had a better answer for that. I mean, it's just a it's a necessary thing that you have to start doing. And then as you start doing and as you start getting volume in and you're spending, your media dollars everywhere else, and you're looking at it blended, and you're looking at your overall, cost of marketing or ROI, and you're noticing that that a big chunk of your dollars are going to SEO, then start kind of going back to them and like, hey, I need to get some savings here because I'm getting killed on the ad side, right? And just start having those conversations, play with it. If you have to reduce budget, you may do that, and if you feel the difference, and now you're getting less organic traffic and your total cost of marketing is even greater, right? Well, you shouldn't have pulled those dollars there. And so, yeah, no, I apologize. That's a real tough one to answer, Matt, unless you've got some
I'll
insight.
add one layer of color to it. Then thanks for asking. I do have a lot of experience in this over my last decade plus, and what I would say is based on the budget, I would say you need to look at some competitor disparity. And what I mean by that is in SEO, what we want to do is we want to get into parity with whoever's ranking at the top, and that's usually on up to two main levels: links, content. We want to look at who's at the top, how many links do they have, and we want to look at how much content do they have, how much good topical authority. We don't want to just look at all these like fudged pages. We want to look at like the indexed pages, right? Actually indexed pages. That would be the only color I can give. It's very hard to answer. It is a tough question, Chase, to answer without a lot of context at hand to be able to say operationally, you're here, you're there. So I hope that's helpful for everyone. Chase, I got one more for you, brother. What are you most excited about at A1 right now?
Yeah. You know what?
What's next?
Probably, I mean, what's next? There's a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline. I mean, we're expanding, we're growing, we're opening new locations all the time. I'm just excited with where the team's at. Tommy's done a fantastic job, just really building the team. We've got a lot of smart brains, a lot of driven individuals, and we do a lot. We've always done a lot. We've always pushed the envelope. And I feel like it's really starting to come together now, right? Like everybody kind of rowing in the same direction. A lot of stuff we've been working on for months is starting to come into fruition. So I'm just excited for the continued growth. And as an organization, I mean, we're just getting better. We're getting stronger. Um, so yeah,
It's awesome, man.
it's,
That's
it's a
awesome.
wild, it's a wild, fun ride.
That's awesome. I really want to thank you for being here today, bro. Seriously,
Yeah,
it means a
thank
lot. It
you.
means a real lot to us. Thanks for your time today. I got a few more things I'm going to go over real quick, and we'll answer a few more questions at the end. Chase, uh, lovely brother. Thank you, man.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
A big thank you to Chase, everybody. Thank you so much. Got a few more things I'd like to touch on as we hammer out here. Industry trends, a few things I want to talk about. A lot of this stuff, absolutely hilarious that we actually kind of talked about most of these things throughout that talk, just because we're so in tune with kind of what's going on and everything that, really in depth on the data. Getting reviews across a diverse set of sites. Now, what does that mean? Revitalizing those old Angie profiles, Thumbtack type profiles, Yelp profiles. We're seeing that come up a lot in the AI SEO stuff. We're even seeing, man, I've sat there and watched ChatGPT go ahead and do a search where I've said, like, who is the best plumber in city? And I've seen it, just watch it do its thing. I've used Roofer, right? It's looking at Owens Corning. It's looking at Gaff. But here's the real surprising one. It'll pull a Facebook group from the local market and look for a post about a company or companies that got referenced on a post when somebody was looking for it. It's really, really wild to see. What people are doing now for some newer SEO tactics, really covering that entire topic ecosystem, going really long, not thin content, not just a page. There was this whole push well before this whole AI stuff, right? Of just mass page builders of thin content, just duplicated. Google's not loving that stuff anymore. Really staying focused on real, authentic content. Absolutely awesome with what we're doing here at Local Optics with taking your jobs, all the jobs that you and your teams are doing, completing, turning that into beautiful content for the site, distributing that across multiple places. We actually have some new connections coming here soon as well for that. And really, seeing that Google is favoring a lot of trusted sources, rich things, strong brands, multi-location brands. There's, as Chase just said a few moments ago, right? The best day was probably yesterday to get your next location, but there's no time like today. Do it sooner than later. Happy to answer any industry questions as well. If anybody wants to email us and reach out to our team, it's going to be sales@localoptics.com. Quick little look at what the SERP ecosystem is looking like today, currently, right? We have the SERP ecosystem here. And so LSA at the top, very top, position 0, as Chase said, right? It's up there. You've got traditional PPC right below it coming in hot. You got the map pack, and then you've got the organic SEO. And as Chase was talking about quite a bit there, it is highly, highly important to be looking and pushing to win that organic and that map pack, because that's going to help your overall comms, cost of marketing over time. What our winning customers are doing, what we're seeing a lot of them do right now, right? Staying consistent with their execution over time. They're acting on their data. They're getting the things done. They're getting all of these things we're talking about done. They're not looking for a quick fix. Don't be looking at that silver bullet, shiny object syndrome. I see a lot of shiny object syndrome, especially with the AI SEO. Look, AI SEO, the LLMs, we're seeing some of that traffic convert really low. That's first note I'll make here. Second note I will make there is, look, old traditional SEO is what's working to produce authority for a business. It's very similar stuff. There is no line of code that goes onto a site and all of a sudden you populate in all these LLMs. It's, I don't believe it. That's my personal opinion. Giving personal opinions here. We all know how those are. Use local proof. Keep building your local proof, especially with those job site check-ins, adding new content to your sites, adding new content to your pages, and treat your local marketing as if it's always an ongoing process. I see people way too often pull out too early, pull out too much, pull out too quickly. You have to keep going. You have to keep pushing to win these markets. We are more competitive than we ever were before, and we will probably only continue to get more competitive as we move into the future. There's been a boom of local service businesses over the last 5-ish or so years since the 2020 time, right? It's only going to get more competitive. So, keep pushing, keep going, keep winning. And wanted to take a moment, talk about what share of local voice is. Make sure if anybody on this call isn't very familiar with the grid technology and what the share of local voice actually shows you for your location, the share of local voice at the most simple explanation, it's going to be the grid that is around the area of your business, and it's going to show you numbers. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Number 1, 2, and 3 means you are in that map pack. You are effectively coming up for that search term when somebody in that local area at that point is typing in that search term. And the share of local voice takes all the points across our grid and then bubbles up a percentage based on how many of those points are you number 1, 2, or 3. Because only number 1, 2, or 3 are effectively going to be shown in that map pack. There's 3 map pack spots. We want to be number 1, 2, or 3. Our share of local voice is going to tell us in our area how much of that area are we taking up and are we winning as a percent base, 0 to 100. Are we winning for that keyword? And it's for each keyword, right? So you can have multiple different keywords. You got to share local voice for different keywords. One quick note, if you see a grid that's all red and some of your other grids are all nice and green and looking good, a lot of times that might mean it's not a local search. So it's not a localized search. So share of local voice, we're looking at how much we are winning of that map pack in our local area. How to read progress the right way. Sometimes, look, local marketing efforts can feel slow. Go back to why it's very important to track everything, right? As Chase talked about, be relentless in your tracking and setting up your tracking, and start today if you have to with just a spreadsheet and do the best that you can do. Why it can feel slow based on competition, proximity, competitor activity. We need to be outperforming those competitors. Gains are often non-linear, right? When momentum is real, they don't necessarily just shoot up in one fashion. It takes a while to build that authority. It takes a while to keep winning and stay out ahead of the competition. So you need to keep going. You need to be focusing on those trend directions over time and for your performance relative to the competitors. We love to look at our competitor grids inside. We love to see how we're stacking up against competitors, and then also looking at our strong versus our weak zones. Our weak zones are going to show where, hey, maybe it's time for a new location. Maybe it's time for that expansion opportunity that you've been thinking about for the last 6 months. And we can definitely help you with that. Want to take a quick moment, just talk about a few of our other products here at Local Optics. Everybody probably knows heavily about our job site check-in software, as well as real, authentic, fresh content coming from your jobs. Some of you might not know, we have GBP Recovery Shield. If you have a GBP go down, we can assist you with getting that GBP back and live in a very timely fashion, so you do not have a risk of having a long downtime. I will make a note, they do need to be real, authentic address, commercial address GBPs. Those are the ones that we can do and provide the GBP Recovery Shield. We do have a quick process that we look through when we're adding this, but an absolutely fantastic product where we can help make sure if you do have a GBP go down, we can get it back in a very timely manner for you to get back live, back to ranking, back to winning. Reputation management, reviews, highly, highly important. Probably right below all your marketing efforts. It's probably one of the number one things you should be doing. We have reputation management. We can link in any type of CRM, help automate it, as well as the strategy around what to say, how to say it. Our CRMs are absolutely awesome here. They've been trained, absolutely fantastic. So reputation management. Our LSA management, or local service ads management, we have rolled out. It's absolutely fantastic. We've got a great approach to help stimulate accounts and try to win those areas when you're not winning, as well as the overall feedback gathering, right? Dispositioning your leads. You need to be providing that feedback to Google. We assist heavily there by making sure that in real time, that feedback is being driven to Google, as well as listening to all of those calls. We're listening to it internally and having that feedback in real time. And then our star of the show, MLAP, multi-location analytics platform. This is going to be for when you have multiple locations across an area, a unified dashboard where we're going to pull all of your organic marketing efforts in, including GeoGrids, including GBP, including Search Console. We're going to look for where you're winning, where you're not winning. It's going to be an absolute powerhouse, especially for executive decision-making, marketing decision-making. Really dig deep, links directly into Service Titan, pulls all the revenue there, can bubble up so much data. We're going to dig in on its complete own call, because it's in and of itself its own thing, and something that we've used heavily with Chase over at A1, where we've used it to bubble up the location data across over 100 locations, where we need to be able to strike and know who's winning, who's not winning, and in real time. We can't have the operational lag of waiting a week or 2 weeks for a human to go through 100 locations and individually audit each one of those locations. We need to have that at our fingertips to say, oh man, this location has some revenue decrease. Let's figure out why. It's specific to GBP, right? That's the coolest part here. We can see it to the URL. We can see it to the GBP. We can see it to all those Service Titan phone numbers that you guys have. Very specific to Service Titan now, and we will be rolling out other CRMs to integrate in the future. If you have any questions about any of these things, we can be reached directly, sales, SALES, at localoptics.com. I would like to open it back up for questions one more time here, everybody. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I will be happy to answer them. If I have any answers, if there's any others for Chase, I can always get them. But if we have any other questions, I'm trying to find my Q&A tab here. Oh, sorry, I'm not seeing it. Give me a second. All right. Any other Q&As left, guys? If you have any other questions, or feel free to put it in the chat. Um, all right. Last but most certainly not least, what you should be doing next. Review your market visibility and identify those weak zones. It might be that you're ready for a new location. It might be that you're too far proximally located. Um, that next location might be closer than you think, guys, right? Um, Prioritize reviews, reputation, and local proof. Local proof with our job site check-ins. Prioritize gaining those reviews. As Chase talked about heavily, make sure that we are having the technicians from the start of the job. They need to be talking about that. They need to be looking to forward to delivering 5-star service. Stay consistent in what you are doing. You don't want to do shiny object syndrome right now, especially with all these things moving around. The changes in local search, the changes in Google. Stay consistent. Don't get shiny object syndrome. Don't go ping ponging too much. Stay consistent. Do the work. Get it done, and provide a great service. Talk with our team about your biggest opportunities for where you have opportunity to grow as well as expand, or potentially one of our additional services with LSA. And then make sure you get subscribed to our monthly newsletter. Make sure you get subscribed to our monthly newsletter. I do have a couple other Q&As here I'll go over for a moment. We've got strategy when replying to reviews. So I would say strategy to replying when reviews. I don't think it's as important to have an absolutely fantastic strategy on replying, more so that you are replying. It's more important that you are replying versus writing, a book. You don't need a book here, guys, but you should be thanking the consumer, letting them know that you're awesome. Now, I'm not sure if that was geared towards a negative review, right? Addressing a negative review. You heard Chase talk about it. I believe he was talking about, I believe it was Garage Door Doctor, and how important it is to chase down that unhappy customer and do everything in your power. They can remove a review, by the way, guys, right? Meaning the consumer can remove it. Don't go looking for all these things out there, attacks, or if somebody can just get it removed for me. Don't fall into those traps, okay? What you need to do is get that customer back, win them back, do the best you can. And like I said, operationally, you will get a bad review. You will have somebody that you can't. Don't let it hit you too hard. Okay. It happens. It can happen. It will happen. Move on to the next 5-star and continue pushing harder to drive that 5-star service that you guys are so awesomely doing. Awesome. Now, how is AI, another great one here, how is AI impacting the SEO space? And, look, I think we could spend an entire evening on this. We could spend an hour plus just talking about AI and impacting the SEO space right here, right now. A couple things I'll say right away is, number one, don't chase the shiny object syndrome for getting into the LLMs. What you need to be doing is re-stimulating those old profiles with new reviews. That's probably one of the best things that we've seen off of large data sets that is actually helping people get more into those, winning some of those parts on the LLMs, which is absolutely awesome. And, I think making sure that you topically cover the topical authority and then dig a bit deeper. We have those, when you type in a question to Google and you scroll down to the bottom, there's always the people also ask, right? Look at those people also ask questions and answer those in your blog content. Make a blog specifically for those. You drill into one of them and keep going down the ladder a little bit. That's awesome content to write about your industry or your service that you provide, right? And I think that is extremely helpful with AI and how it's impacting the SEO space. Last piece I'll leave you with is authority is more important than ever, right? Being an authority in your local space, pushing hard to show that you provide great service, and it will provide dividends and pay it forward for you. When you say your reviews are tied to your CM, does that mean auto answer for reviews or the typical follow-up campaigns asking for reviews? Um, Let me try to decode that here. But so the auto answer for reviews, I don't have a problem with it personally. That's my opinion. I don't have a problem with auto answers for reviews. I don't think that content is effectually doing a lot or not doing a lot. I think it is more the engagement cycle feedback for Google. So if you are using AI to answer your reviews, I don't think that's a negative thing. I think that's fine. I think that's absolutely great. I think it's actually even better that you're using that and actually getting them answered. Again, I don't think you need to write a book. But the typical follow-up campaigns asking for reviews, yes, that's absolutely, you should have software installed for that. We do have software here at Local Optics. There is others out there on the market in full transparency, but yes, you should have that. You can also have a tag in your CRM that lets you know when you add that tag, it actually gets pushed out so that your technician can do it on site right then and there by simply just adding a tag. That's one of the absolute best ways that I've seen people do it. So that's absolutely fantastic. Awesome. And then last one here, and we'll adjourn for today. And if anybody has any other final questions, feel free to throw them in. But what is the ideal customer for Local Optics? Where do you need to have in place to be successful working together? Great question. So typically, I would say an ideal customer for Local Optics is somebody who has their footing under them with their website, some of their local SEO, and some of their GBP. They've got jobs, they're already rolling. It's not your last job or not a lot of job volume already. You need to be rolling and operational and pushing forward. It's not a magic bullet. It's another cog in the big wheel overall of providing a great information source for Google. So I would say you need to have jobs already rolling. You need to have some footing with a good, decent presence. Typically, definitely a GBP. Got to have a GBP. Ideally, a GBP that is an address verified GBP, right? We're seeing the non-address verified service area businesses absolutely get clobbered on respect to visibility. Google just decided this was a 12 to 18 month rollout here over the last 12 to 18 months, but they decided that commercial address has a ton of weight. So having a commercial address is definitely a big one. And then having somewhere where you have that content. And then if you don't, we can also assist with that. So I think that's ultra important. Awesome. Any other questions? Any final questions? Well, I want to thank everybody for taking your time with us today. I also want to say another last big super thank you to Chase over at A1. That was absolutely fantastic. If anybody has any questions after this, please feel free to reach out. And if you do have any questions for me, feel free to send them over to the team. It will get routed to me, and I will be happy to answer anything at all from an SEO, local SEO, marketing perspective that I can. And I just want to thank everybody for being here and for your time. This is Matt Adams here with Local Optics, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one, guys. Have a great evening.